Hello. So, how's everyone been? As for myself, I've been working on a couple of projects, and, well, I finished one of them and have moved on to the next one, in which, here's just the quick little teaser, I guess. I have also been playing quite a good amount of Serato lately, because, I don't know why, the thought of just having a 6-man Serato pack sounds really, really fun to me. And I ended up having a pretty good chance to do that with another content creator that has actually been getting a decent amount of attention lately, because they honestly deserve it. And the name of the channel is Zilla17YT. You should really go check them out. They do pretty much, PvP content. They're very insightful for a lot of the ideas they come up with. They're very chill in terms of, well, just their attitude in general. They are very, very mellow and chill. But most of all, listen to their voice as well. It's a very soothing voice. Hell, as for their ideas, what they came up with was an entire role system just for a pack of 6 Serras. And I say just 6 Serras, but you get where I'm coming from. The gameplay you're watching here, it pretty much came from the session in which Zilla ended up streaming the 6 Serra group. Although, not everything went exactly or completely to plan, due to the nature of official servers in general. But nevertheless, it was very fun anyway. Yeah, I'd say go check out Zilla's channel. I am very confident that you would not be disappointed with it. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. What this video is about is my Kaiwhekea going on a great quest and finding a new home away from any Tylos ever. There's not much more I can say about that without spoiling anything. But, with all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoy. Now you might be wondering, what the hell is a Kaiwhekea doing in the Jack Daniels cave of Dry Fang Canyon? And while the reason of a Kai being here may be pointless, the journey was certainly funny. So let's go over that. Now first I should preface that I don't really do the things that I always do out of purpose or necessity. I do it out of curiosity. And for Kaiwhekea, it has pretty easy access to about 90% of the map, albeit maybe Hollow Hills and Dry Fang Canyon. And this is thanks to one passive that it has access to called Beachcomber. Gain 80% increased land speed and 50% stamina regen while on land. Prevents dehydration on land. But this is a typo. From reading the description of preventing dehydration on land, you would assume that they turned the old Beachcomber bug that Kai had into a feature, which is how I ended up getting my Kai into the little pond on the mountain in between Dried Lake and Big Quill Lake on Gondwa. But the wording for this is just incorrect. How this actually works is that Kai can stay as long as it wants on land so long as it is wet. But as soon as your wet status goes away, you will start actually losing water. So, how will we be able to actually stay wet on land in order to actually traverse to Dry Fang Canyon? And for this, I'm gonna have 3 options. The first is to waddle my way from water source to water source, having a little dip in whatever puddle I can swim in, and then moving on to the next one. The second is pretty much gonna be waiting for rain in order to actually give me the wet status, in order to keep moving on land without losing any water. And third, I'm gonna get onto in a little bit. But let's get on to the actual journey. So, my plan is to start off in Redwoods, and waddle my way north towards Black Fern Hills, and go between different bodies of water there to swim. Only ever really stopping whenever I hear something pretty much running by. And I'm also praying at the same time that they don't come and attack me. Like, say for example, this Dasplito that was running right by because they didn't notice that I was actually a Kai since I was hiding most of my body with the sunfish. But either way, I make it into the first pond of Black Fern Hills, which is more like a shallow marsh. I can rest here for maybe a minute or so just to get my stamina back before making my way towards the next pond. And a cool thing about barrel roll, it actually gives you a good bit of, I guess you could call it a slide in whatever direction, it can also be a detriment in some cases. I've had plenty of times where I've hit barrel roll while I'm actually fighting something in water, and then I'm kind of just stuck on land, and I've got to just stay there. Otherwise, I die to maybe the Tylo that was in the water because I put myself in a bad position. Another hazard for this right now is that obviously I'm a damn fish out of water. I know I'm not a fish, I'm an aquatic reptile, but you get where I'm coming from. If I get attacked by anything, I'm kinda screwed. But nevertheless, it's not much further to go until I'm eventually at my next checkpoint. And so yet again, after a short little rest, I get some stamina back, and I make my way towards the third checkpoint of Black Fern Hills.
I hear titans in Black Fern.
Yeah, out of everything that I could hear, hearing titans is actually the worst thing for me to actually hear in the distance, and it'll probably just get louder and louder as I get closer and closer to Dry Fang Canyon. And as you'll notice, every time that, I'm needing stamina, I'll usually end up just stopping on the spot just to regen it faster, along with, just the water situation. But this next trek that I'm making towards the third checkpoint, or water source of Black Fern Hills to get to Dry Fang Canyon, is kind of the most dangerous part for traffic. Just because the closer you get to Dry Fang Canyon, the more activity and the more noise you're going to end up hearing. And because the portion of Black Fern that I'm in right now has a lot of questing items in which it means just higher traffic and higher chance of getting spotted. But now my third issue here is food. And how the hell am I going to keep myself fed in these little ponds that don't spawn any fish? And this is where the third method of traveling on land exists. Because, one, I will not be able to catch any critters to, be able to eat whatsoever, outside of maybe the odd Diplocaulus that wanders by the water.
What do you mean?
And this is where I had Julie come in on a ramp to pretty much just feed me. Because, let's be fair, rain is an irregularity and it's not something you can really rely on to be there every time you need it.
Ah, oh, damn. There's no fish in here. No! No! You can't do this to me!
My hidden fourth option or method was to pray to Alderon for rain.
I mean, I'm fine waiting for rain. The only problem right now is food. Diplocaulus! Diplocaulus! It's so slow! Yeah, get fucked!
And now, all I've got to do is just wait for rain. Be patient, and I'll be able to make it towards Dry Fang Canyon. And thankfully, I won't be bored waiting for rain, since I'll have people to talk to in a voice call.
Did you just turn into Squidward for a second? Oh, like your roommate. Tickle me.
But the third method of traveling on land with minimal water loss is to have a friend on Suko or a duck. But I was kind of against this, as I just wanted to see if I could get it done alone. At least in terms of travel.
I'd rather not. I just want to do it like without any assistance outside of just food. That's the only issue, is food. The rest of it can be done alone. I don't want to be spat on. I don't want the backwash. Another Diplocaulus will go so hard right now. Captain has ruined this map for me. Because where your character is showing on the map, it's slightly to the right. It shows that your character is slightly to the right compared to where you actually are on the map.
And here's where Julie ended up showing up with food, which means I don't really have to worry, and this turns into just a game of time at this point. And to be honest, I'm not really bothered by waiting. I've literally sat in rivers on Sarko for like 2 hours just waiting for people.
Oh, fuck.
I'm perfectly willing to wait for a bit of rain, especially when how common it usually is. Or at least so I thought. But after around half an hour of sitting in this pond, here is where Sour eventually ended up showing up on a duck. And Sour was telling me, hey, I could use Water Spout to help you move on to Dry Fang Canyon, but I am stubborn. And so to pass time, I just travelled around the area seeing where Kai could actually go in Black Fern.
You'll
But
regret
just
it.
out of a little bit of a funny, did you know that Kai can actually do the lookout points on land, and it does this funny little backflip?
Stopped it. Because I stopped it. Julie? Julie, you should pounce me. Right. Right, there we go. Whee!
But after all this time waiting, I was starting to have some questions about my life choices.
You know what'll happen if I just hop on ramp now? It'll rain.
And from the amount of time that I've been waiting in this small puddle, I'm starting to lose my mind a little.
I know a song that'll get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I know a song that'll get on your nerves, and this is how it goes. Come on, Vamonos. Everybody, let's go. Where are we going? To Dryfang Canyon. Where are we going? Call me crazy or schizo, but I always check my door hinges with pepper spray. You just never know.
Eventually, I ended up leaving my puddle and wandering a little further north because I thought I ended up seeing a spot of water, even if it was a small puddle a little further north, which any closer to Dryfang Canyon that I can, get this Kai to stay in a puddle of water, the better. Though the problem with this was that, well, what I thought I was seeing being water was just a darker shaded section of, well, the map. And when I eventually noticed that it was just a darker shaded section, I started to panic, and I turned around to start moving back towards my puddle.
Oh no, I just can't. I can't until there's rain. I just can't.
And on my way back towards my puddle, I've already lost half of my water, but I was then spotted by a small Iggy. And here is where sometimes you think that karma actually does exist.
Fuck you!
As this Iggy, they had no malicious intent. I just hit them because I've been waiting in a puddle for the past 2.5 hours. And I'm now currently panicking that I'm gonna end up, well, losing my life.
This was my attempt, and I was banking on rain actually showing up, because, believe it or not, Tango, every time that I'm playing with anybody and I'm ramp and they tell me, "Oh, Hunya, can you go scout for us?" It starts raining and fogging. I mean, they gave me a little bit of false hope earlier when it started to fog up.
But here is where the karma comes into play. As you can see, my water is pretty much next to empty, and I am taking health damage. And the only outside witness to this is the baby Iggy.
I'm out of stamina. Bye-bye.
At the very least, I hope the Iggy had an eyeball quest for a little bit of extra growth.
Honestly, almost 2 hours sitting in a fucking puddle. And 90% of the time when I play ramp, rain. You can't see fucking 5 feet in front of you. All of a sudden, I play Kai, and it's like, oh yeah, let's bank on the thing that happens 99% of the time. No.
Now, let's be fair. I've done this to myself, trying to rely on RNG. This is no one's fault, except for my own, for putting myself in this situation. I can still be just angry at the nature of RNG, after waiting 2 hours in a puddle, waiting for an event that is usually very common whenever I play Ramp. But nonetheless, I think it's time to maybe try a different route for another attempt, and so I swam towards Tallbrush Coasts. Swimming through the short little underground section up towards the waterfall lake, and then crawling my way up to the next section of the waterfall just on land. Which I have to say was actually quite a comfortable journey so far. But next up, Tango was online, and he was on Ramp, and he was helping me out with giving me guidance or telling me which way to go in order to actually make it to the next body of water. And so I listened as well as I could, following this ridge around this rock formation and further south into Dryfang Canyon, only stopping to get stamina back and to not let my water drop, because whenever you are moving, your water ends up decreasing faster. But eventually I do make it to my next water source, and it would be an understatement to say that I was happy. But there's not really any time for happiness right now. Every moment I spend just traveling on Kai, that is time that I'm burning my food bar. Which is where Sour ended up showing up again, just to enjoy the show at this point.
Look at that.
I'm still refusing her help of using Water Spout to keep me hydrated, because I'm just stubborn. But now here comes the dreadful part of this path that I have taken here. And here is where I'm gonna need to take a little bit of a risk.
Wait, can I just jump down that though? Oh, I'm scared.
There is no reward without at least a little risk. And with how long I've already waited in a puddle, this is far more exciting.
Oh! I think my journey is gonna end. I don't like turning. My entire. Oh yeah. I'll try. Yeah.
Tango telling me, "Hey, don't fall off."
Right. I got this. No! Oh no!
Honestly, still better than waiting in a puddle for 2.5 hours for rain.
Oh.
And so, a few days later, I decide to make another attempt. And I've got a friend on Suko who is just wanting to do some traveling anyway. Though they won't be hitting me with Water Spout to keep me hydrated. There's also some people also just following us, with one friend also growing a baby Spino. And this time, while moving into Black Fern, we end up actually getting attacked before we even hit the first pond. There was an Alberta and a Picno in the area, and surprisingly, I was actually not the main target of focus here. Instead, the main target was just the Suko with me, which is angle-side armor. But just because I wasn't the main focus doesn't mean I wasn't attacked whatsoever, as the Picno definitely wanted to have a go. Now, you would actually be surprised at how decent Kai can be at defending itself on land, purely just because of how fast it turns and the amount of knockback that its neck swing does. It lends itself against charge-based playables as more like a parry-based combat system. So, with Kaiwhekea, you're practically playing for honor trying to parry out attacks, just to reduce whatever damage you take. Though sadly, I really cannot do anything to help out Angle on Suko. All I can really do is just try to defend myself, as Angle does actually end up dying to the Alberta, and I'm left on land alone to defend myself, while also being spammed by the same person for group invites, which I'm not gonna lie was very, very annoying. Trying to concentrate on defending yourself against a Picno while some person can't get it through their head that I don't want to, accept their group invite. It drives me wild. It's like, why can't you just accept that someone has said no 9 times already? Stop inviting. And, well, eventually I did end up blocking them afterwards. But since Angle ended up dying, waste not, want not, fill up my belly, and pray that nothing else comes to attack me. All while just trying to make my way towards at least the first checkpoint again. Picno did eventually give up and start to walk away, as I just kept parrying attacks, and it was kind of hard for them to, well, land their hard-hitting attacks. But hey, I made it to the next checkpoint, and along with that, I came across a Barsboldia. And let's just say I was very lucky that they decided to be friendly and not just, well, absolutely stomp the fish on the spot. But I continue moving on, still being followed by the same person that has been spamming me with invites non-stop for the past, well, entire time that I've been out of the water. And unlike, you know, the karma that I had when I ended up hitting the baby Iggy earlier, I did not feel any remorse about hitting this baby Sarko that kept spamming invites. And I'm not gonna lie, I found it extremely funny when they got attacked by a critter and died on the spot. Just imagining the one comment that's going to be calling me out for broadcasting at a baby Sarko that died to a critter, calling it toxic or something like that. They spammed me with invites for 15 minutes, I don't care. But in the effort of saving time here, since you already have seen it before, I end up making it towards the second checkpoint and the third checkpoint with practically, well, 0 interactions or encounters. But this time there is rain, and so I am going to make the best out of whatever rain comes my way for this right now. And I start rushing as fast as I can to get as far as I can before the rain ends up stopping.
Now it's just the question of, can the rain last long enough for me to do this? I would preferably want to get into this canyon over here. Like a baby turtle, that might be golden. I know turtles spawn in Dryfang. It's just having the luck of not having an alpha turtle spawn on me, I guess. And having the luck of not being spotted by anything ever. If it wasn't raining, I would need to like stand still or just sit still for any like decent amount of stam regen. Just because whenever you're moving, your water loss is way higher. But since I don't know how long the rain is gonna last, I can't really afford to just sit still. Since I am far enough away from the pond now that if it stopped raining, I would not be able to make it back. God damn it. I'm screwed. I literally called it. I had to open my mouth. I had to open my mouth. I literally said, oh, so long as it keeps raining, I can't rely on just sitting still for stamina, so I need to keep moving because I don't know how long the rain is going to last. And then boom, rain ends immediately. Absolute rage bait. This is the closest I've gotten to Dryfang. Or to one of these lakes. I could log off. You know, just log out, find a bush, log out, and then, when it next rains, hop back on the Kai, and then waddle it down to, say, this lake. But goddamn, that's such rage bait. And so I ended up finding a bush in order to log off. This was the secret 5th hidden method in order to travel on land. Anyway, the rain lasted 10 minutes. Rage bait. Absolute rage bait. And so I waited and started playing other things, like, say, Serato, for instance, until I noticed that, hey, it's raining. And you know exactly what I did as soon as I saw the rain. I immediately hopped off of the Serato and hopped back onto Kai to, well, continue my journey. Unlucky for me, Dryfang Canyon was absolutely devoid of life, meaning that I have free reign to travel for as long as I want, just praying that the rain never stops. And eventually, I do end up actually making it to the first lake of Dryfang Canyon. And while my microphone was set up to not be recording my voice at the time, I was cheering. I was so happy. I was literally cheering into the mic, yes! But, well, I just didn't have a setup at the time. But,
this journey isn't fully over. We still have another checkpoint to go to. But at least the hardest part was finally out of the way. But we still need to make it towards the Jack Daniels cave. That is where my Kai will be until eventually it ends up getting caught out by maybe a Sarko or Spino that decides to go there. Hell, in this case, even something like a Hats could absolutely ruin my entire day here, as it's a very rocky terrain with quite a few, well, drops, and it could force me into a lot of fall damage. I say a Hats because, well, here's a baby Hats right here. Though I was very, 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 very lucky that they actually wanted to push me towards the Jack Daniels pond. My Kai's journey to this cave has been full of anger, confusion, rage, and now I'm finally getting the push that I needed in order to actually, well, finish my journey and feel some accomplishment. Even if nothing really substantial comes from this, just knowing that I could get here in the first place was definitely worth it. And after all this, I was actually perfectly content of just starving out in this cave, because I knew that no fish actually end up spawning here. But there is something else that spawns here, which is Wadiosaurus and Bagaceratops that spawn on the ledge, and then, if they're frightened, they will actually run into the water to attempt swimming, in which, that's an easy meal right there.
Wait a minute, that Baga just ran into water! Food! Why is it so tanky?
It's not many critters that spawn here, but it's enough to at least keep me fed. And with this, my Kai can live here for the rest of its days until eventually it ends up getting killed by maybe 2 Sarkos. Luckily for me, both of these Sarkos were actually too flabbergasted to see that a Kai actually made it here to want to actually kill me. How lucky I truly was. And so here we are at the end. I know this may not have been pretty much the most exciting video, but I thought it was just fun, just because it was a little bit different. I find exploring more and more of the map and learning what can get where, well, I just find it interesting. And you don't see it very often, and I think finding novelty amongst what's usually just absolute carnage 90% of the time, it's a nice breath of fresh air. At least for me. To other people, that might be boring. In which, well, more power to you, I guess. A lot of the large groups have been popping up a bit more often on Riparia, and I'd rather not just get into that, because that turns into an entire whole, like, discussion or / argument with whoever and wherever. We've heard it like umpteen amount of times, or infinite amount of times. I'd say just think about it. They won't be able to do it forever. Once matchmaking hits, they'll be arguing with each other over whose turn it is to play as Titan, or Rex, or as the Apex in general. And then, who knows? There's not much more to really say after that, is there? But, either way, now that I've gotten all of that out of the way and we're pretty much finished, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye. P.S. Don't forget to go check out Zilla.